Well, there are very few places in the motorsport world with this kind of wow factor. This is Yas Marina Circuit. We're in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, the richest city in the world, and they didn't miss a dime when they put this place together. $1.3 billion. So we're under lights for race 2 as we showcase V8 supercars. Our Fuso grid shows an all-team Vodafone front row again, but they've switched positions. Jamie Whincup starting from pole. Craig Lowndes second. Third goes to Winterbottom. Stephen Johnson looking good. He'll start from 4th. There's James Courtney, our defending series champion. Now, if you've just joined us, the news is that James comes into this race on minus 23 championship points. It's got to be some kind of record for a defending series champ. He was docked 50 points after contact with Jason Bargwanna, and he only made 27. So take you down to the top 10, where we find Tim Slade putting together a very solid weekend. Paul Dumbrell didn't have a lot of luck in the race yesterday, but again, he qualifies well. Will Davison, first weekend at Trading Post FPR Falcon, alongside Garth Tander, 13 and 14. 15 belongs to Russell Ingall, car 39. Tony D'Alberto, the Wilson Security Racing this year, in 16th. There's Jonathan Webb, the Mother Energy race team, and Shane Van Gisbergen hasn't qualified well this weekend, but did finish inside the top 10 in race 1. Fabian Coulthard and Steve Owen for VIP Pet Foods make up the top 20. Great to have Steve full-time back in the category. David Reynolds and James Moffat make up positions 21 and 22. There's Dean Fiore, Greg Murphy from the Pepsi Max crew out of Kelly Brothers Racing this year. You won't miss that car if you haven't caught it so far on the weekend. The new liveries are a beauty. Bargwanna and Luff and Rick Kelly and Carl Reindler make up this last row of the grid. So 18 Holdens, 10 Falcons. That's the lineup for 2011 as they head off on this warm-up lap, and it'll give you an idea of just how classy this place is. Under lights, it just looks even better. So it's 4.73 kilometres worth of circuit. They break it up into 21 awesome turns.
And it's a very complex racetrack to master. It's got a couple of very quick straights. The peak straight on the run down to turn 11 brings you 270 odd kilometres an hour, with the benefit of a tailwind today by comparison to yesterday where they were copying a headwind. So we're going to see a little variation in braking distances. Very complex in the midsection of the circuit around through the marina. Average speed about 145 kilometres an hour. And
now, if you watch Mark Winterbottom, who's going to tuck in behind Jamie Whincup on the second row of the grid there, talking to Mark, he was frustrated because he saw, if you looked at the vision from yesterday's race, of Jamie doing it really easy, and easy's the wrong word, but in terms of steering input in the car, doing it really easy on his tyres out in front because no one was annoying him. Mark Winterbottom, he was annoyed about that himself. He knows the only chance he's got today, if he can't get in front of Jamie, is to at least annoy him. So Jamie's got to move around on the road, use up his tyres, and that might be the only chance he has to drag this 888 car back.
Marco, these weather conditions have got pretty interesting. You come to the desert, you expect it to be pretty hot. At the moment, the temperature has dropped to 19 degrees, the air temperature. The track temperature is 24 degrees, and the X factor at the moment is a howling wind, which is blowing directly down this main pit straight. It's going to make conditions pretty interesting.
Thanks, Barrett's. Mark Beretta and Mark Larkham in pit lane, and of course Neil Crompton and Mark Scaife joining me in the commentary box. It's been a really weird day, but it is winter, and we are in the desert, so we can expect a lot of wind, and that will certainly mess around with these guys as we go on board with Lee Holdsworth.
And those gusty conditions have been so strong through the afternoon and early evening. Chris O'Toole there, Ford Performance Racing crew chief, on the pit wall, making sure that his man gets up to the front of the box to not give away a millimetre at the critical start of the race. But it's been so blustery that it's actually, there's a lot of dust in the sky. In fact, you'd almost say in certain areas on the horizon around here, it's almost a sandstorm. So there'll be a little bit of debris on the racetrack. Here we are with Paul Dumbrell. Had some problems yesterday. They've made a precautionary change to the steering rack in that car, and he qualified reasonably well up in position 11th. But remember, if you were watching our qualifying coverage earlier, he did it in the dying seconds of qualifying. At that stage, when we were starting to worry about him, he was last in the field. With about 90 seconds to go, he jumped up to be just outside the top 10.
Off the front row of the grid. Grid position back, line yourself up laterally. Okay, slow it down. 3, 2, okay. slow at 5 metres 4, 3.
That's Mark Dutton talking to Jamie Whincup, and that is Mark Winterbottom right behind him. Lyco's already spoken about how important this start is. You can see Mark Winterbottom just moving the car up to right to the front of that box, and you need to optimise it. This is James Courtney in position 5. So this is a very important start. So 1, 3, 5. Whincup, Winterbottom, Courtney down the clean side of the road.
Of course, Jamie Whincup was our winner yesterday in race 1. It now means that he's won the first race of the season 4 years straight. The last bloke to do that was Alan Moffat back in 1973. And the last 3 years when Jamie has won the first race, he's gone on to win the second. So here we go. For the second race of the season, the big question is, can they catch Jamie Whincup? They spread out and go roaring down to turn 1. Whincup goes through cleanly. Winterbottom as well. And here's where it gets tricky, up over the rise. This is where Will Davison had a spectacular off.
Alberto off the racetrack, and he turns Tim
Oh,
Slade
that's
away.
a big crunch
Lots
at the
of
top
damage.
of the hill. It's not done with yet. Garth Tander's involved. Tim Slade's involved. Todd Kelly's involved.
Now that started with Alberto off the racetrack on the inside, and then there was just nowhere where all the cars could go once they started crunching into each other.
So D'Alberto definitely started. He went down the inside of the road, couldn't get it stopped, and safety car out now. A lot of damage to those cars. Garth Tander.
Almost exactly the same spot as race 1, just a little bit further up the road. Will Davison had a big spin yesterday and somehow managed to avoid everyone, not this time around. So there's D'Alberto's car. Look at the mess on the other side of the track.
So Tim Slade has been collected in that. Garth Tander, and that's Tony D'Alberto's car off in the distance. There's the Lucky 7 car, and a lot of radiator fluid coming out. Here's what happened. So for some reason, Tony just ends up off the racetrack on the left. No, he didn't make contact. He's just driven up there. That was... And then he's tagged the back of Slade.
Oh.
Tander's got nowhere to go into Slade. Steve Owen's gone straight to the back of Slade's car. Here he is again from the other angle.
So look for Todd Kelly's car. There's Todd. Bang. Slade. Tander. Webb. Reynolds. Gisbergen spun in the background. D'Alberto, massive damage to the front and the back.
That was all a bit average, really.
That was average. Can only make those passes if you can slow the car down.
Well, and you need to do it on the racetrack.
Absolutely.
Safety car's out. We'll take a breather. Just looked as though that was going to get nasty at the top of that hill there. And as soon as D'Alberto went too far left and then tried to get back on the track inside that tyre bundle, it was game over.
Well, he should have given it away, Matt, when he was around the outside of Todd Kelly. He should have braked the car early and just pulled back in behind. This is the car that was in the middle of it.
Woe.
Well, the other aspect of that is that once you get out in the weeds out there, there's no grip.
Plenty of time here, guys. Just nice and slow.
So relatively...
Something's broken on the left front. Did you have a good look at the suspension?
I was about to say, relatively speaking, it looks as though Todd's got away with only superficial damage, but he's reporting that something's broken on the front left of that car. So Steve Owen did get some front damage. Shane Van Gisbergen patrolled through pit lane. I'm not sure what kind of damage was done to car 9, but clearly the big ones who copped it, D'Alberto, Tander and Tim Slade.
Well, the damage is in the left side of the car. Yeah, so it's in the B-pillar area. And Shane just respecting those flags up there. Obviously, when there are marshals on the circuit and equipment on the circuit, you've got to take it very gently. State-of-the-art equipment to retrieve and recover the cars. That's a serious, straight from the Thunderbirds, I think.
just pick it up and fling it back to pit lane. That then Steve Owen comes through. He'll go around the other side.
There's a lot of damage out there. It's quite a serious situation.
And Neil's reliving his childhood.
Yeah, that's right. What do you think, Virgil? So there's an issue with Whincup. Here we go. We've got Tim Slade and Garth Tander walking back. A little bit of idle chat. And an issue with Jamie Whincup with the blend line coming into the pit that's going to be reviewed after the race.
They managed to make it through race 1 without the Petters safety car having a roll out there. We haven't managed to make it through lap 1 of race 2 without the safety car being called into action. A fair amount of mess to be cleaned up after that big accident. And both Garth Tander and Tim Slade are out of their cars and are walking back to pit lane. Let's take you back to the start, and it was a good start at the front. So all of the major contenders at the front there really didn't have anything to worry about, although the 2 Fujitsu cars did a pretty good job. So they get further around here. Mark Winterbottom, a good start. So everyone just followed Whincup down to turn 1. Clean pair of heels from car 88. And now this is where the action unfolded. You'll see Tony D'Alberto arrive on the scene to the left of shot. He was wide and he tries to sneak it back in. And before you know it, Slade goes around. Todd Kelly gets a whack. Garth Tander got a big crunch. Shane Van Gisbergen copped it on the left-hand side and had to go through pit lane. David Reynolds had to take evasive action as well.
So Campbell Little, engineer for Mark Winterbottom, and Matthew Nilsson. He's moved camps this year and joins Ford Performance Racing. We're still under the control of the Petters safety car, and we're back soon.
So a lot of damage. Another car coming in there, Carl Reindler, with a huge amount of damage to the back of that car. And they'll have a quick look at this to make sure that when the race is restarted, that rear bumper stays on. So they're just making sure the brace is right. They have a look at the tyre, make sure it's not rubbing against the tyre. Probably need to put some tape on the front of that because they're going to try to pull that piece of the apron off in the corner of the car. Certainly needs to be taped. That will have a drama later on, that one.
Well, mate, just continue to conserve fuel. Just stay there for too long. We could just keep topping it up. Okay, copy that. So, put a new tyre on, just out of interest. Is it going to be slippery rear left? Mate, it's a roaded, a good roaded left rear tyre. So that's obviously right up to temp. So just take your time with that.
So a bit of chat there as to what left-hand rear tyre went on Reindler's car as he leaves the pit out through the tunnel, one of the only tracks in the world that has that style of pit exit. And he'll go around. And there's Tim Slade and Garth Tander back in pit lane now. Disappointing weekend based on Tim Slade because he's really, I mean, he's had really good form. He's driven very well all weekend, and the simplest things happen in those sorts of incidents early in the race, and he'll be disappointed.
Had a lot of time to catch up, haven't they?
Yeah,
it's been a long walk.
Yeah. Garth always enjoys that walk back. It's usually called the walk of shame.
So here at Yas Marina Circuit, we're getting ready for a restart. Have missed much, folks. They've just been going around while they've been trying to clear up the damage, and the victims have done the long walk back to pit lane.
Just intercepted a radio conversation from Mark Dutton to Jamie Whincup and talking about cleaning the screen. Look at the amount of dust on the screen, and you can actually see the witness mark where the wiper has scanned the screen, and then it's dirty all around. I'm wondering why it's so dirty. So we'll try and get a shot of that where we can. There you go from on board. And Mark was just explaining to him what he wanted him to do with it, to deal with it, but it's just very grotty at the start of the race for no apparent reason.
Well, Garth Tander, this is no way to end your race too.
No, not at all. You know, it's sort of in the middle of the pack, and we got through fine yesterday. Everyone was pretty smart about it, but not so smart tonight.
What happened out there from where you were?
Oh, from what I could see, it looked like Tony D'Alberto was off the track trying to pass everyone in the first lap and came back on, and I think Slady said he got turned around, and bang, Slady and I went front to front, and it's just destroyed both cars. So pretty disappointing, because you don't win the championship in the first lap, you don't win the race in the first lap. So, oh well, we'll go to Adelaide and fight back.
All right, thanks, Garth. All the best.
A good summation there from Garth Tander. He was the car behind and he could see what was going on. And that's a pretty good summary. As I said, Garth Tander very disappointed. And when you do get caught in the middle of that, sometimes it's just not even in your interest. You just end up in the wrong spot at the wrong time. We're behind the safety car. We'll be back with you shortly.
Tim Alistair, 47's clear. We're still working on 3. That won't be too much longer. Thank you. And the car on the left of the exit of 4, which have just started to load. Are you with that car, or are you down in the runoff? Over. Tim, I'm with 3 right now.
So that is a mystery, Croppo. We don't know, looking at all the other windscreens of those cars, why Jamie Whincup's is dirty, especially when you're the front car. Normally you're the one that's with the cleanest windscreen, so it's very strange when you look at all those cars. Mark Winterbottom, Craig Lowndes, James Courtney, Steve Johnson right behind. And again, these guys are coming in now. The reason they're coming in now is to top these cars up with fuel. Every time, I think the Reindler car, they might even have a little think about fixing that left-hand rear properly. There's Todd Kelly, there's Dave Reynolds, there's Steve Owen, there's Shane Van Gisbergen. There you go, a little top up of fuel, a bit more tape on the front of the Steve Owen VIP Pet Foods Commodore. And he, oh, a little bit of car. That's just dope. That's an
unsafe release. He just drove straight out and has made contact with Reindler, so that's an immediate penalty for Steve Owen.
That's in a nothing part of the race. It's just crazy. Just seriously, in those sorts of situations, you're trying to optimise your performance by coming in and topping up with fuel and then dragging onto the back of the chain again. But as it's turned out, that will cost Steve Owen. Now, I don't know what they're going to do here, because...
Well, that's a blend line there also. So Steve's got to drop in behind Fabian Coulthard. That's the reason why the white line's there. So whoever's got their nose in front at that point has right of way. And so lots of things to negotiate here. The oil soak on the road, the white line. Owen will get a penalty as a result of that contact.
And this will be very, very slippery at the restart. They have to be very careful as they go over the corkscrew and down through from turn 4 to turn 5. Still cleaning up.
We've been stuck in a bit of a holding pattern here as the cleanup continues. You'll see back down along that straight there that Yas Marina Circuit is getting behind the Queensland flood relief, the big sign crossing over the track. And we urge everyone to do their bit to chip in. Now this is an incident involving Steve Owen that's just occurred at the exit of pit lane as he comes out, whacks straight into Carl Reindler.
And that's an unsafe release, and so once race control sees that, it's just an automatic penalty. They were urging him to merge, but there wasn't sufficient room between the two cars.
That's Todd Kelly.
We're just down here in Kelly's garage. They've just pushed the car. This is Todd Kelly's car. They've pushed into the garage here. Now, he's got a good feel for the car, this guy. He's come in, they had a look at it, pulled the wheels off, couldn't find anything, went back out, and he was sure there was something broken down the left-hand side of the car. And if you get in under here, I don't know if you can see, right there, look at that, there's the lower shock mount, and you can see that's broken. So that's quite a decent repair, but they'll get stuck into it and try and get him back out for the end of the race.
Yeah, and he was driving that conversation, wasn't he, Larko? You're right, he had such a great feel for the car. The crew were looking. You knew that something was up. That's experience for you. It's not the kind of thing you want to unfold, but at least they've got to the bottom of that problem. So it's just been a really frustrating start to this race for all involved, none the least the guys who won't be taking part in the race any further. Tim Slade, Tony D'Alberto and Garth Tander back in the garage, and Todd Kelly, of course, trying to do a rescue job. So what does it do for your rhythm? What does it do for your tyres? How do you know, all that comes into play. It's only 18.9 degrees out there and the track's only 23. They've been trundling around for almost 4 laps now.
Well, fortunately, Matt, for the first time using the soft tyre in Abu Dhabi, this will help them in terms of getting up to speed. If it was on the normal control tyre, this would be very slippery, no tyre temperature. But with the soft tyre, you'll basically be able to get straight on with the job, and it will help some of the guys who have got poor tyre life in terms of how their car uses the tyre. We saw last night Jamie Whincup being the benchmark for that.
Some of the drivers are complaining about how slow the safety car, the Pettis safety car, is running at the moment. The reason they're doing that is they're just trying to maximise the opportunity to not burn laps and get the track repairs affected and get everything, all the debris cleaned and sorted. So the things that you're talking about there, the management of tyre temps and pressures, are very, very difficult when you're basically at walking pace.
It's very interesting because at that stage now, when we saw the track last in the section of road, and here we go, we've got the leaders in.
They're all, what they're doing here is they're going to grab fuel and try and get this done in one stop.
The clock's going to be about 10 seconds.
Yeah. So this will be absolute chaos.
Yeah, so this is a little strategic play.
And what will have happened here, one guy will have made this call in the lead pack and they all go and race each other.
Now,
so
both the Vodafone cars are together, so this will mean queuing of the Team Vodafone cars in their garages. Shane van Gisbergen's crew standing by. Oh, there was a wheel blazing down the pit lane then. Oh, merge issue here.
And it's a change for the lead. And it's a change for the lead.
Exactly.
Watch the blend live, watch the blend.
So remember that Winterbottom lost a spot in pit lane yesterday. And here, with virtually nothing happening, he's managed to overtake Jamie Whincup.
So the curiosity for me is where they come out in relation to the... What are they going to do here? How do they deal with this?
They're definitely
out
the
in
safety
front.
car's going too slow. That is
So
definitely
because you
right.
can't pass the safety car, and but they've got to find. Now this is the really tricky one. Winterbottom I get, but I'm not sure what Jamie's going to do in relation to the 17 car. That's a real nightmare to manage.
Well, I don't think Junior's going to open the door for him.
And you've got Alex Davison's not happy. You can see the body language with him at the moment, just trying to get position back from Jamie Whincup. So that, I mean, that would be hard for a driver to resolve because you don't have the peripheral vision to know precisely where you were relative to other cars.
Well, you need to judge it fact.
Whincup stuck out wide. He can't slot into the queue here because nobody wants to let him in.
Yeah.
That safety car is slow.
Well, why are they doing that for?
Now there'll be a massive eruption of aggravation on the local area network, the LAN, back to race control, and I can hear it going in my ears at the moment. They're trying to sort out the order. That was all. The safety car is just running too slow.
So there's the merge. And Whincup just didn't get out in time, and now comes the rejoin.
Now, under normal circumstances, they just go straight out and onto the road, but the safety car's going so slow that they can't pass the safety car.
Technically, Winterbottom was in front of the safety car, so he should almost basically go round. But I don't know about Jamie. I'd need to see it again, so...
There's not much in it.
But there will be aggro like you cannot believe in pit lane at the moment as to what the order of these cars are.
Well, nobody wants to give up the order.
Well, why would you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this has got Roland Dane out of his seat, so the relaxed...
Get in charge of this. Obviously, we saw the evidence. You should be in front of Johnson. We are also with Johnson and Davison. We're one pit stop ahead of them.
So the relaxed Roland in the back of the garage lasted a day.
Okay, mate. I'm not bothering to try to keep position here on the safety car. It's pretty dark. Just let me know where I'm going to be and I'll get in that position.
Oh, that's cool head from Jamie Whincup.
Oh,
He's not going to bother trying to resolve the argument by pushing in. Just let me know where I slot in when we get going.
Next to Johnson, you should be in front of him. So go and take your position in front of Johnson.
Excuse me.
And so he does what he's told, which is...
He's not letting me go. Stay out, please.
So
This is a farce.
this is, I'm totally with you.
Of course he's not going to let him.
Well, but again, Matt, what you've got to do with this now is you've got to have some track presence.
No one's
Drive it
letting
in
me
there.
into the pack. You need to sort out where position I'm in and then tell everyone else what position I'm in.
This is not a team resolution issue. Yeah. This is a race control resolution issue. They need a determination from race control to put the cars in the correct positions in straightforward, factual terms.
Told the officials, mate, but obviously safely try and get up there. I know everyone's swerving and blocking you. A bit of farcical. Obviously, you should be up there, mate. That is your correct position. Behind Winterbottom. Behind Winterbottom is your position.
Okay, so Mark Dutton has now made it clear, and now Jamie's going to get a little bit more aggressive about this to reclaim his position. He's done so right behind Mark Winterbottom. But look, everybody's joining the list. I mean, Stephen Johnson, if he's being told he doesn't want to know about it...
One of them will end up turning the other one around. He'll get so agitated.
Well, the way it's going, the Pettis safety car might get turned around, and now everybody else is coming into pit lane. So Whincup just cannot get in to that second slot. He's had 2 cracks at it now. He's asked the team to be very clear. They've been clear.
Holding. It's getting busy. Real busy. Holding. Go.
This is one of the most bizarre things I've seen.
The real failure is doing this safety car speed.
Yeah, the safety car's trying too hard.
Now. Clear to go.
Trying too hard to slow the field to an unusually slow speed in order to try and get the track repairs done. I mean, in the end, it just gets silly.
But the point is, when they come out and they come out at speed, the reality is you make ground on a 40k safety car. Here we go.
So Mark Dutton
we've
was
just
correct.
heard the voice of race director Tim Schenken, who's made it clear on the race management channel.
The order for the first 3 cars.
The order of the first 3 cars is 5, 88 and 17.
There we go.
Confirming 5, 88, 17.
Finally, we've got that resolved.
Now Stephen Johnson gives Jamie Whincup that position. It was worth the fight, though. So 5 laps have been burnt under safety car here, which is now blaring up the road. About to release the field, which is on corrected order. It'll be Winterbottom, Whincup, Stevie Johnson, Jason Bright, James Courtney, Holdsworth, Dean Fiore, who started in 23rd position and is in 7th, but is yet to come in for a pit stop. So how's that? Mark Winterbottom, through all that, without 1 lap done in anger, has got the race lead in pit lane. And a fair bit of energy used up in the car behind him to try and get his spot.
Green flag, green flag.
So finally, the order has been sorted and finally we can go racing. This is what we wanted to see. But Mark Winterbottom's gone wide.
No tyre temp. He's going to get monstered here on the run to one.
Jamie Whincup will get the race lead back. Can you believe that? And Stephen Johnson will go with him.
That is a very silly manoeuvre.
Well, Johnson's now going to get the lead. So the lead has changed 3 times in the space of 3 turns.
Well done, Steve Johnson. Great driving. That's a very silly manoeuvre from Mark Winterbottom, because you don't need to make a mistake on a restart like that. You're the leader. Don't run wide.
Okay, Dono, Winterbottom ran off the circuit. I passed him.
So these laps, very important. As you can see in the background, there's Van Gisbergen down the inside.
So what Jamie Whincup's concerned about is affecting a pass before he gets to the start line, which you can't do. But he's saying, because Winterbottom was off the track, I passed him. So just to explain that, that's what that's all about. Typically, you can't pass until you get to the control line.
And Winterbottom went so wide.
But was he past him? Because I thought he was basically... The overlap's allowed, isn't it? The overlap's allowed. So I thought there's an overlap, no problem, but I don't think he actually passed him before the control line, did he?
I need to look at it again, but he was just reiterating to the team that whatever he did,
that's why he did it.
And that was Will Davison in the weeds there as well.
Stop twice, so just eyes forward, mate. Do a good job. If you can pass them safely, do it.
So here it is. Yeah. So that is deemed off the racetrack. So once he's off the racetrack, it then becomes not a problem to pass him, I should think.
It's fair game.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying is the mistake. It's your restart. You control the speed of the car. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, because you're effectively controlling the field.
Take a look at Stephen Johnson. He was so aggressive here.
I think he may have missed a gear. Whincup up that next straight out of turn 1. Because he had the little gap.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's actually got away from... and the fact that Stephen had to violently pull left suggests you're right. There's Will Davison. There was an image of him a lap back on some green stuff at the top of the hill. Now, Stephen Johnson hasn't stopped. Jamie Whincup has, so that has an impact on the reality. Here we go. Car 49's got a pit lane drive-through penalty, and that is Steve Owens' unsafe release for what we commented on just a little earlier.
Just a bizarre start to this race.
So what has really mixed this up? Johnson from Whincup, from Winterbottom, Bright, Courtney, Holdsworth, Fiore, David Reynolds right up in position 8, Shane Van Gisbergen and Paul Dumbrell. That's your top 10. So all this chaos at the start has got a very weird mix. Steve Johnson hasn't stopped, neither has Dean Fiore. So of the top 10 cars, only 2 haven't stopped. And here's the pressure. Right up in behind. You can't be any closer than that. Whincup right behind Steve Johnson. Mark Winterbottom in behind him. And Jason Bright with good car speed. Fantastic shot through turn 16, 200k corner.
Quite a turnaround for Stephen Johnson. He did a good job in qualifying for race 1. He qualified 8th. Ended up right down the bottom of the field before working his way back up to 11th. We documented his problems earlier, but... one of them was the box which holds the dry ice for the cool suit. The hatch kept opening, the lid kept opening, and He didn't know what was going on. He was getting smothered, smacked around by dry ice in the cabin. Which he said was okay on the right-handers, but not the left-handers.
That was turn 2. It's 180 kilometres an hour as the cars emerge over that rise, and that's down through the corkscrew. That's out of turn 7. And this is on board with Mark Winterbottom, right in behind Jamie Whincup.
Now, the thing that worries me a bit about those that are trying to play the one-stop game is I don't know how they're going to get through on tyres. I reckon that it's all very well to look at the fuel in isolation, but I'm not sure that tyres are going to cope with this.
Well, does the temperature help that, Crompo? I mean, it's cooler tonight than it was last night.
It does, for sure. Take a close look at how these cars achieve their speed.
And if we had much more in the way of delays in this race, it'll revert to a time-certain finish rather than a number of laps, and we're within 3 minutes of that potentially happening. So we really can't afford any more delays or stoppages, or it won't run its full distance.
Steve Johnson driving the car very well, Crompo. He's very neat and tidy and accurate. You can see there the way that we were saying last night. Jamie Whincup, just watch how he turns at the corner. He turns earlier to the corner than Steve Johnson, so he runs the car in on the front wheel and tries to keep the momentum up. See how he's just in and he's got their momentum and nice and smooth on the throttle. And you watch the way that Mark Winterbottom and the FPR Falcon, we're on board with him. He was very fast. He led the race and then made a mistake at the restart. Cost him 2 positions. As the other 2 guys just start to sneak away from him at turn 2. That's 180k. This is fast. 145 around to the right and down to this slow left-hander. And this is the corkscrew. Look how far downhill it runs through turn 5. Whincup.
We've got another penalty for Paul Dumbrell for disobeying the pit lane exit red light. So Paul Dumbrell is going to have to cop a penalty for ignoring the red light on the pit lane exit.
And Whincup's got speed on Steve Johnson.
The way this is panning out, Whincup's got that regulation look when he's about to attack somebody.
And this is it. This is it. He's close enough. And he's been good here under brakes.
And the instructions from Mark Dutton were if you can do it safely, do it. Don't mess around. Try and get it done when you see the first opportunity. And this is it. Johnson's going to fight for this position. They go side by side. But they weave their way through.
And it's good to see Steve put the fight up. You know, that's racing. Jamie knows that's not going to be easy. He did a great job of...
Johnson, we don't need to race Johnson. We need to conserve fuel, mate. We need to conserve fuel so we can get to the end with the correct strategy so we don't get mauled from behind. Copy.
Yeah, but Jamie was equally concerned about Winterbottom. But they're concerned at Team Vodafone about Jamie having to take too much risk to deal with Stephen, and he'll be cleansed when he stops.
And that's something I reckon too of an admission that it's not going to be easy here, because you use up all this energy trying to get through. The last time that Mark Dutton spoke to Jamie Whincup, he said, go get him. If you can get him, take him. Now he's saying we don't have to race him. Let's conserve the fuel so we stick to our strategy. They made contact there, a good whack.
In fact, that was a much bigger whack than I thought, and so that's all the more reason why Vodafone are concerned about it. Too much of that and you'll bend a steering arm or something else will go wrong, no doubt.
So this is a good, healthy battle with Johnson from Whincup, Winterbottom, Bright, Courtney, Holdsworth, all in this group. They've all got good speed. 5 of them
fuel, mate. I don't know
have had a stop.
to get the numbers we need, but we need to conserve fuel. Copy, mate.
Mark Dutton reminding Jamie Whincup about this fuel strategy. And there's Jason Bright having a bit of a look at the back of Mark Winterbottom. He's very close. Doesn't quite get there.
Well, this is the other thing. This scenario of Whincup having to save fuel, of Stephen holding his ground, it's going to bring everybody else into the game. Now, I just heard Winterbottom getting cranky. I also heard Michael Caruso getting very emotional on the radio a moment ago. So there are a lot of people out there at the moment uncomfortable.
This is James Moffat and Alex Davison.
It's a silly spot to try to pass. There's no passing spot there.
And that probably ended up in James, certainly well off the road, maybe even rubbing the wall.
That was where you saw Jason Bright getting super close to the rear of Mark Winterbottom.
Now, the black flag's still outstanding for Paul Dumbrell at the moment.
A little bit of speed's fallen away here for Stephen Johnson, because now Wincup's right on the back of him.
Yeah, Jamie will be able to get into fuel conservation mode if he can clear Stephen. While he's in underneath the back of him at the moment, I mean, he's got as a driver, that's a real problem. You've got your engineers saying don't burn fuel, but you've got this guy under your feet and you've got a whole pack on the back of your car.
Behind Johnson, we just slipstream behind Johnson. Air temps are good, air temps are okay, so slipstream, conserve fuel.
So this is a very important strategy here. Mark Dutton saying slipstream, so stay right in behind. And what that allows you to do is come off the throttle down those big long straights and maintain your car speed. So Neil's saying go and round him up, and I totally agree. You'll do a much better job of fuel consumption if you can run your own race. But Mark Dutton's saying hang in behind him and try to suck him along and achieve the fuel strategy by slipstreaming.
Fuel conservation of that.
Well, this is real engineer and driver teamwork.
What'll happen is Jamie will get monstered by those behind. You know, Mark's a bright guy and a great engineer. I just don't reckon he's putting his driver in a good position at the moment, because he will get attacked and he'll end up being the loser. If you can't run the right rhythm, the pack will eat you.
Absolutely.
So he's well positioned now to have a look. Once he gets that done, you can back Stephen up all day long.
I'd be
here we go. So here we go. He's having a good look. This is a repeat of what we saw before. This time, though, he's got much better position and he carts Stephen White. Now the job is done. Now you come out of the throttle and you make the whole lot of them stand in your queue.
So Jamie Whincup took his own licence there to take advantage when it came to him. It still was risky because they made contact again. Not as bad as the first time around.
But in terms of road presence, getting up far enough and making an authoritative pass, Jamie was much more committed that time. And he took it off him, he pushed him wide, and he was able to do it. You watch his relative car position. You've got to get the nose of the car up where he can see you. You've turned it in, and you've made your presence felt. He's pushed him wide and then said, it's all mine.
And now he'll go back to chasing those critical numbers on the dashboard. So he'll be shifting gear early, he'll be rolling out of the throttle early under brakes, he'll be doing everything he can to try and get back what he's just burnt. But I think he's now in a much better position, and Jamie knows that. That's why he's done what he's done.
His heart would have skipped a beat there when the rear right got locked in with the front left of car 17.
Now, there's no radio comms for Steve Johnson, I understand. That's the reason why DJ Dick Johnson was out on the wall with the old-fashioned pit board. Mark Winterbottom. Risky there up at turn 3. It's a bit of a hot spot this weekend.
There's a few different lines here. Some guys run it very close to that inside apex early, and then others run it wide. And there's 2 or 3 ways of getting onto the straight. And there's a bit of impatience building with Jason Bright and Mark Winterbottom. That's Bright on your left. There's Winterbottom. He's going to get him down there. That's 2 or 3 times.
Disappointing night last night for Jason Bright and Team BOC, because they had a steering rack seal break. And obviously there was a heap of oil came out and blue smoke. They had to park the car and replace the steering rack. But we've seen terrific speed from Jason and this team recently, and he's putting it to good effect tonight.
Now, Jamie Whincup has been asked to conserve fuel. The way to do that is you limit the revs. You come off the throttle. If you ever get near a rev limiter, you come away from the throttle before you get to the rev limiter. All the down changes are limited. So instead of blipping the throttle for every gear change, you blip the throttle in a very minimal way. So when you come down those gears, it's a whoa, whoa, instead of a big buzz of the engine. And the meaning of all that might be 10 or 20% fuel saving for a lap, which is crucial for him to get away with a one-stop strategy. These laps are very important.
Yeah. Now, remember, if you're watching our coverage yesterday, Steve Johnson now in the lane, Mark Larkham made a big point about the critical number in this race to get you filled and home to the end. And we made a big song and dance about it being lap 25. At the moment, Jamie Whincup, the reason for Mark Dutton's stress is he's right on the cusp of not making that. It's probably more like 23 or 24 for him.
Was that Joey over?
Stevie Johnson, he can transmit, but maybe he can't hear them. So it matters, because if he can make it to that 25th lap, he can fill her up and get her home. Now, we don't know how much fuel he conserved under the safety car. That's the bit that's tricky. And that's why at the moment I'm sort of saying, there's a bit of fog in these numbers. But that's the reason. They've got the numbers at Team Vodafone. That's the reason for the urgency for Mark Dutton. This is a fascinating battle.
Set the fuel. Reset the fuel.
They're riding here with James Courtney in 4th position. Up ahead is Jason Bright. Really important today for tonight for Courtney to turn that disaster of yesterday around.
So Mark Dutton again urging Jamie Whincup to conserve. I'm not hearing similar messages to Mark Winterbottom. And he's pitted at exactly the same moment, and so's Jason Bright. So Whincup, Winterbottom, Bright. And I'm just looking here for Courtney, yes, in 4th position. And indeed Holdsworth. So all of the key players at the front of this field have all got the same situation to deal with. They're trying to get their cars to, or the doors coming loose on Shane Van Gisbergen's car on the left side. They're all fighting fuel consumption, trying to get to lap 25. And the reason they want to do that is they fill the car up once, and that will get them to the completion of the motor race. If they can't make that number and there's not another safety car, they'll have to stop twice. Might only be briefly for one of those stops, but they'll have to stop twice.
And there's the back of Ryan Miller's car coming off. We said before in that pit stop that they weren't able to tape the front of it. And whilst ever you're doing 250 or 260 kilometres an hour and that piece of rear fascia is hanging out, it will want to drag itself off the car. So there's Craig Lowndes, and Lowndes is down in 13th position behind Alex Davison. Alex was caught up in that little drama there before with James Moffat. Russell Ingall just in front of them in the Super Cheap Auto Commodore. And Jason Bargwanna behind them in the white BOC Commodore. There's his teammate Jason Bright doing a really good job in 3rd position behind Mark Winterbottom and in front of the series champion in new colours, James Courtney.
So the orders: Whincup, Winterbottom, Bright. Then Courtney, Holdsworth, Van Gisbergen, Reynolds, Caruso, Will Davison and Carl Reindler make up the top 10. The gap from 1st to 10th is just under 10 seconds. There's a pretty lively bunch behind them. Now, this is a critical time for our race leader, Jamie Whincup, if not for the next 3 or 4 guys behind him, because conservation may well be the key to success in this race.
Now, the race pace is a little slower than it was last night, to the tune of about half a second a lap. And as we went to the break, we're speculating about the notion of trying to get to that critical number where you can fill the car and do that one stop all the way home to the back end of the race. Those that are in the position of having to squeeze to get to that number include all the key men here. Whincup, Winterbottom, Bright, Courtney, Holdsworth, Van Gisbergen. The team have played him back into the game by stopping him a series of times after the disaster in the first lap up at turn 3, filling him up, filling him up, filling him up. So he's 6th, but he's got door damage on the left side of the car and it's flapping around a bit at the moment. But these guys are playing an interesting game at the moment. They're trying to race their cars, not wear the tyres out and not burn fuel.
Oh, big moment there for Winterbottom.
A big moment. So that's a really tricky scenario. Now, they've got to get to lap 24, 25, no matter what. And, gee, if you're in the driver's seat out there, there's the door I spoke about. And I reckon that'll come under the attention of race control. It's opening up too much.
We lost to Bathurst with that, Cropper.
Breaking my heart.
They brought Shane Van Gisbergen in on lap 1, 3 and 4. So the strategy call is playing out well. I mean, he's top 6, but like you say, will more than likely be back in pit lane looking for some race tape soon. James Courtney is doing a really good job here in 4th position.
Now, race director Tim Schenken has seen our images there of Shane Van Gisbergen's door, and he's asked V8 Supercar officials to have a look and monitor that situation. That's Scott Sinclair to Courtney. So here is Shane's car again. Just have a look at that passenger side front door. That's as a result of the damage at turn 3, lap 1. Shane was one of the victims. The team stopped him straight away at the end of that lap, put 2 rear tyres on the car. Then they stopped him on lap 3 and 4 to keep on topping the car up, to put him on the same strategy terms as those in front, but this door's a bit of a worry for him.
Okay, so you've heard Neil talking about the fuel strategy going on. Let's try and show you at the Dick Smith Tech Centre in graphical terms what's going on here. Now, we're going to talk a lot this year about what we call the conventional fuel strategy. The guys are going to, hang on, let me backtrack for a sec. First of all, fuel tank in these cars is 75 litres. Okay, that's full. Fuel consumption around this circuit is about 4.1 litres per lap. So that makes the fuel range for the cars 18 laps. Now, so what the guys do, conventional strategy, fill them up at the start. Okay, they'll run all the way down here. They could get to 16 laps because remember, you've got 2 laps at the start, an out lap and a warm-up lap. So 16 laps, they come in, they fill them up again. Okay, that'll get them down here to lap 34. That's 18 more laps. Then a nice little 9-second fuel, a little fuel stop at the end just to get them home. So that's conventional. What we've seen happen here today with that safety car, everyone's done what we'll call the alternative fuel strategy. So Whincup and co have come in on around lap 4 or 5. So they've filled up, they've come down, they've filled up here at about lap 5, filled up. Now we reckon they're going to get to about lap 23 or 24. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out. They're going to fill them up there, and 18 laps is going to take them to somewhere around 41, 42, not 43. So that's why they're getting that message about conserving fuel. So remember, conventional strategy, and the red one is the alternative strategy, and that's the one they're on.
Yeah, and that's why there's so many nervous figures up and down pit lane. So bird's eye view here of Shane Van Gisbergen's running repair job.
Just fixing that. And we saw those images before at turn 20 and 21 with the left-hand front door coming open. The guys have got that fixed.
Urgency's the key.
Got themselves sorted. And they're back on with life.
This is a good battle. And Russell and Carl Reindler have been having a good battle. There's panel damage to the rear of car 21. Well, Lyko was doing a great explanation there of what the fuel strategy situation is normally and what it is now.
Oh, Dave Reynolds ran wide.
Reindler and Russell were having a good tussle. Now Russell finds himself having another one with Will Davison.
And Dave was one of the guys that got knocked around in that lap 1 trauma up at turn 3. So he's in recovery mode. So the really interesting bit that Mark Larkham was speculating on there is the bit that we don't know. You need to see laptop data to see precisely where they're at with their fuel consumption, how much was saved in those safety car periods and how much is being saved now on the run in a dynamic sense. So we've said that the consumption is around about, and we're using litres where the teams tend to work in kilos. On board looking at Russell Ingall. It's about 4 to 4.1 litres a lap, and that is Will Davison up the inside of David Reynolds, and now Russell wants to have a bite of that as well.
This will be interesting down here. This will be very interesting. Now, Dave Reynolds is on the inside. Oh, and he did a good job because he could have served Ingle then. It was a bit too gentlemanly because he's let him drive around the outside of him at turn 1. But again, at this point of the race, there's a fair bit of racing to go. It was a good common sense way of approaching it as they fire down this corkscrew across the curve at turn 5 and then into turn 6. Good exit. So Dave Reynolds has done a good job, but Russell Ingle is on the charge. He's 8th, and he will get Will Davison because Will Davison rear tyre. That's Will Davison up the inside of Dave. And there's Russell Ingle just getting a good run to lob up alongside the Stratco Commodore. And this is on board with Russell Ingle. He turns it in, and on his left, a little bump. You can just see that correction, that little bit of opposite lock that Russell Ingle had to apply. A little bump from Dave Reynolds. That's Craig Lowndes who's dragging himself back up the field also.
Who had to queue. So they brought him in on the back bumper of Jamie Whincup. They processed him. Remember all the congestion?
Yep.
And so Craig was hurt in that process.
Tell you who else has brought himself into this picture is Alex Davison,
who also stopped on lap 5, 2 rear tyres and fuel on that car. So the extra lap, stopping on 5, not 4, like a lot of the other people we're talking about, could become a big talking point in this. Alex at the moment is 10th. Thank you.
Welcome.
And Neil, I reckon you raise a very pertinent point, and I put that down to really good driver experience. You've got to look at the incident, look at the repairs that are happening to the track, and make an assessment. Can I stay out another lap, 2 or 3, and put my fuel in later than the other guys?
Yes.
So you're dead right. The guys that did that at the back end of that safety car, smart move.
And this is silly. Carl Rydell has done a good job in this race. He's got himself up to 13th spot, but when all those pit stops were going on, we said you've got to fix this car properly. And when you don't fix it properly, you come in for something like this.
0.1 to the car behind, 2.1.
Tell you what, he arrived into pit lane in a hurry as well. Have to hit the anchors as he crosses the line. So Jamie Whincup has the race lead. It's going to get very interesting as we get closer to this next pit window.
You need to tell them that it's happening, mate. Clear with that?
Well, it's heads down at Ford Performance Racing.
They're having a seance, or what's going on here?
Yeah.
But Chris O'Toole briefing everybody. And now, last night, remember, they lost 1 spot on the podium as a result of a little glitch in the pit lane. Oh, Russell Ingle and Craig Lowndes off the road. Down at turn 11. Damaged the front right-hand corner of the Lowndes-mobile.
A lot of damage, isn't there?
There's an issue bringing in this lap, just that front left's gone.
Jeremy, you can see how despondent.
Well, when you've qualified as well as he has for 2 days running, and to come away with nothing, effectively.
Copy, I got you there. I can see you.
It's got a massive hit. I think there's got something gone wrong there for those 2 cars to hit that hard there. Like one of the cars has come down the escape road, or because that's big contact, isn't it? And you have a look at the left-hand rear of.
Look at the front left on it. It's got
Russell
about
Ingles.
a massive amount of toe out, so it's got big steering arm damage. Look at it.
Yeah.
Safety car's going to be deployed.
Well, this is going to help these guys in terms of fuel consumption.
Safety car, we have a car off circuit. I'll just confirm the turn number at this stage, but there's not an issue on safety car when you join the circuit.
And do you take the punt and come in?
Right, mate, got you there. Get you to pull into J-Dub's garage. J-Dub's bunker, please. Can you give me any feedback on what you think, possibly?
No. What they've got to do is make sure this car doesn't get in the way of Jamie Whincup.
Thanks, mate. Nice and easy into the garage, please. Nice and easy. Nice and steady. you. Can we get both all? Right, no blocks. No blocks. Straight up. On stand, please. Straight up on stand. Need both front wheels off. Straight up. Go, straight up. Straight up. I need both front wheels off, please.
Well, this is just another chapter of drama. This is car AAA, Craig Lowndes in the garage with some pretty severe damage to the front right-hand side of that car. As a result, we've got a safety car out there now. It was contact with Russell Ingall. Car 39 is to the side of the circuit. This will tell us what happened. So Lowndes comes zeroing down here at turn 11 and smash.
Gee, that's an unusual one for Craig. I mean, he had huge pace. It's like he missed his brake marker or something. He's come rocketing down the inside, and that's a big hit for Russell, who was having a good run. Now, and Lowndes was one of the guys that had stopped on lap 5, so in strategy terms, he wasn't looking to... He went in there with huge pace compared to...
It's almost like he's had a jammed throttle or something. I mean, halfway down there, he just hit warp speed.
Yeah, well, he passed 2 cars in the braking area, didn't he?
He either had a failure, either throttle jam or a brake failure, or he just was blinded by another car and missed his braking reference. Some people are taking the opportunity, like James Courtney, who was in the group of 5 that we were talking about, to actually take fuel. So they're not going to play a gamble. But some of them are going to gamble for sure.
Careful, mate. Green tyres, green tyres, green.
And if you haven't come in now, you are playing the gamble, aren't you?
Yeah.
Get ready. Go, 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 go.
This is a very big punt. Very big risks applied to this strategy. Depends on how long the safety car is out for and when the restart commences, because at lap 21 there is no way you get home with a 75-litre fuel tank. So Courtney, a bold move, and this is now Lowndes is last. He's down the inside of Alex Davison, Dave Reynolds, and into the back.
Yeah, you know what? I reckon he's been under the back of Alex. He's dived out because he's been fixated on just pulling the move, and he just has missed the depth of where he's at in the corner.
That's a really weird one, isn't it? That's a
very unusual
contact.
If it's a mistake, very unusual. We don't know. We'll get on top of it.
And if it was a mistake, I mean, I reckon he's picked it late because he knew that he was either going to T-bone Russell or go in there sideways. It looked to me as though he's flicked around that car to go in there sideways and maybe try to soften the blow.
Well, I think what happens a little bit, Matt, is as you get closer to the accident, you're pressing the brake so hard that it just starts to lock the rears. And when these cars lock the rears, both wheels are hooked together with a spool diff. They've got no differential like a normal road car. So it's like pulling the handbrake on.
Okay, goers, they're just pushing Craig Lowndes back out. They've replaced his steering arm. Right front steering arm was bent. I spoke to Jeremy Moore, his engineer, and Jeremy said no mechanical issues, so it was just driver related. But they're fueling him up and he'll be back out in the tick.
He'll be very disappointed with himself, Larko, after a bad initial pit stop and the way that he was queued. Couldn't do anything about that, but he was also then not in a fuel consumption mode. He would have been good for speed later on, and a mistake has ultimately cost him very dearly. This is not normal Craig Lowndes form.
To get all the points we can, the long championship.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah, so the gamble for Jamie Whincup, and we've got the abacus flying here at the moment with the blue smoke coming off it, is just how long this safety car period is. That is the real question, and that, I mean, that's a gamble because you've got to sort of assess the incident.
Okay, you passed him, so just keep pushing on until you catch the train.
Just to go back a sec, see how when Lowndes came out then and he's well in front of the safety car and off he goes.
Winterbottom should have done
Why
that.
didn't that happen earlier? And I feel like I might be a dummy and I've misinterpreted a rule, but he was in front of the safety car at the control line. I'm sure that will get debated later, or I've missed the mark. It's something to ponder.
So Petter's safety car back out there. Question is for how long? That's why they'll be crunching the numbers. So Winterbottom's in second. Jason Bright and Lee Holdsworth.
Otherwise, it's not.
So a lot of chat in cars. Michael Caruso then talking to his pit, saying everybody except for Courtney has to stop again. And this will be interesting. There's Courtney in front, there's Caruso. So of the guys who have stopped, they're your lead guys who have made the 2 stops. So again, this will be crucial as to how long the safety car stays out for. And you've got to get to this number. About 25 laps to go before you can make it to the end as an 18-lap run.
I guess the biggest question at the moment is how long will this safety car stay out there? Because when it comes to conservation of fuel, if that's what you're trying to do, you want it to stay out for quite a while.
We're going to put a bit of diff oil in that one.
Safety car, just an update. We're dealing with that recovery of turn.
Now they're going to bring Holdsworth in this lap. So there's another bunch of people coming, and this is weird. So they actually end up getting hurt, but by doing it late. But they're trying to get to a window. They're trying to get to a window.
And there'll be less penalty to do that now than there will be as a full race lap.
No doubt.
So it's still a pretty clever strategy. Richard Holway trying to get Lee Holdsworth in there. So as they come in, Jason Bright, Lee Holdsworth, Will Davison, Rick Kelly, and Greg Murphy all in the pit. There's Rick.
Holding. Nice and relax, Mickey. Easy.
Well, yeah, it works while they're still under the safety car because of the condensed field. But if it...
So...
Get that well nut out.
Yeah, Neil, to reinforce what we said earlier, I think this is quite clever because not only is the safety car travelling slow, it's a big lap, so you're nearly assured of your opportunity to catch it up again.
Well done. Well done, Will Davison. That was a very smart thing to do. He could have made contact with Jason Bright. He chose to just lift off the throttle and merge in behind in the traffic, and that will be a telling moment in the race for him.
There's another thing at play here, which I'll just wait till we get to the end of this replay. And the rejoin from Will Davison. Oh, tippy, tippy, tippy toe. Another thing at play, we could be headed towards a time certain finish, so they may not make 43 laps. We'll still crunch those numbers and confirm that.
Now, Lee Holdsworth was just told they couldn't change the left-hand rear tyre on his car. So a genuine front runner, a genuine contender, has, after this stop, to get to the end of the race, got to use the same left-hand rear tyre. So he will be out of contention.
And I wonder, despite Team Vodafone doing a great job getting Craig Lowndes back out and with those repairs affected, whether ultimately race control or deem a penalty. Barry Ryan, team manager there. So they're doing a little oil analysis on the run.
I think it's engine oil.
That's it. I think that's Ray Robbins. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It was a bit interesting to see the guys all trying to determine what sort of oil that was, because they know that the car's got an oil leak. They don't know whether it's coming from the gearbox, the diff, the engine.
No, we'll leave it, Jono. I don't know if the car's up past Jono. It was well worth it though.
Now,
the car's pretty mashed.
By my reckoning,
On the next set.
by my reckoning, Wincup's got to be in very shortly.
Pit this lap, no option. Pit this lap, no option.
Yeah.
Copy that.
Okay, so the numbers are pretty right then. So he pulled his fuel down.
There he is.
And he's got to come in and, yeah, no option.
Oh, that crossed the merge line then. He drove across the merge line. He wasn't in pit lane and drove across the merge line to get into pit lane.
Well, it makes you wonder if Winterbottom was reacting to what Whincup did.
Right, mate, got you there. So got you in for 4 tyres and a full tank of fuel.
Because Alex Davison went in.
Try and get some normality back into this and get you out of here safely.
Well, he chose to do it
Into the box for me, please.
really late.
No, but in neutral in the box, please. Neutral in the box, please.
Righto, let's see how they go this time around. It was heads down at FPR when they knew this was coming.
Wheels are on. Wheels are on. The first gear for me, please. Just waiting on fuel now. Which got FPR are leaving now. I'm going to have to hold you, mate. You're going to have to merge behind them. Merge in behind. Winterbottom. Right in there, brother. Nice work.
So they stopped on the same lap before.
Yes. Yep. So they're tied on strategy at the moment.
That's right. But they've used more fuel because they've definitely had to fill for longer
They had
than.
to hold.
Yeah. You mean Vodafone?
Yeah.
Well, because he had to race harder earlier to round up everybody, if you recall.
And he did have to use up a bit to try and get that position back.
Now, this is what you speculated on before, Mark, about crossing the merge line.
So Whincup went in fine, and you watch Mark Winterbottom. He made a late dive. Watch this. He'll make a late dive there. There it goes.
I don't think he can do that.
You can't do that. If he's crossed the merge line to get in, you've got to be in the lane.
And the reason there's concern about that is that you can chop over the nose of a car underneath
That's already
you.
in the lane.
Yeah.
Exactly. The rule is for safety that if you're in the lane, you can't come across. So at that stage, Mark Winterbottom made a very late call because the leader did it.
He was probably called.
Yeah.
He was probably called from the bunker.
On the train,
And it was a bit of a late call anyway for Jamie Whincup to come in. It was no option. Come in now.
Scafie's dived on the rule here. Read it out.
So exiting and entering the pit lane, and in part A of the rule, a car must be wholly within the fast lane when exiting or entering the pit lane. So there'll be some nervous faces in that camp down there.
They'll be hoping that race control were looking out the other window when that happens.
And not only that, guys, you see guys in that picture there in the FPR camp, it was explicitly clear at the team manager's briefing the other day. We're all there about the white line. Tim couldn't have made it clearer.
Now the lights are out on the Pettis safety car. So all those that have left that stop until the last possible moment have got away with it with the condensed field.
Green flags.
So James Courtney is your leader.
Reynolds is behind him and Fabian Coulthard. So the complexion of this race changes again. It's been that kind of race. We're halfway through. Just on the other side of halfway through. Well, let's see if they can keep their heads cool here on this first flying lap after the safety car. They normally breed on the safety cars, and Greg Murphy really close with Will Davison.
So on our numbers here at the moment, Mark Larkin has put a lot of effort into explaining it this weekend. You'll get 18 laps out of a full load of fuel. Courtney and Reynolds last stopped on lap 21. They've been getting the benefit as Warren Luff is wide down here at 11. They've been getting the benefit of conserving fuel under the safety car, but they'll be really line ball to get to lap 43. Under the regular numbers, 21 and 18 gets you to 39, but I don't reckon you'd save 4 laps of fuel in conservation mode.
No way. Absolutely no way.
A couple of guys on this restart have been very aggressive, and here they come. Lee Holdsworth and Greg Murphy. Rick Kelly has joined in, but also Stephen Johnson. The junior's got in front of Jason Bright. So he's come back up to 5th position. The order is Courtney, David Reynolds, Fabian Coulthard, Jonathan Webb, and Jason Bargwan has been spun off.
Car 888, Craig Lowndes, has been penalised for the driving infringement on Russell Ingall.
Judging on the time calculations, this will show what happened to Jason Bargwanna. Team Vodafone car involved in that one, and it was Jamie Whincup. There were 2 whacks in that. And this might play out even further.
Well, it will, because...
So this is the first one.
Gee, he's been a punching bag this weekend, Jason Bargwanna. He got upended twice yesterday and another whack today. So Mark Dutton frustrated.
Just going back to that time.
Oh, yeah, off the road, and that's an awkward place to be, heading up the hill for Jamie Whincup.
This time critical race. It looks as though they're going to get the full distance, 43 laps, but only just.
Gee, it's on for young and old out there at the moment, because the reason Whincup made contact with Bargwanna was because Winterbottom was down the left-hand side of him. So he ended up...
We've got a lot of people out there trying to be heroes.
That's James Moffat.
James Moffat just backing the car in behind the barriers.
Here's Winterbottom.
Down the inside of Warren Luff. Right behind him is Alex Davison with Jamie Whincup and Carl Reindler in that little pack with Paul Dumbrell as the next car. So there's James Courtney from Fabian Coulthard, Dave Reynolds, Jonathan Webb, Steve Johnson, Jason Bright, Will Davison.
And I think Bright is the best positioned car in this group. So if you look at who's who in the zoo at the moment, Bright stopped on lap 23 and took fuel. He's currently 6th. Those in front of him, and I'm scrambling at numbers here at the moment, are all, I think, too shy of the mark to get through on their load of fuel. So Bright is ideally positioned at the moment, but it'll still be home on an oily rag. And you look further down the field, car 5, pit lane drive-through penalty for Mark Winterbottom. So that'll be as a result of the blend line infringement that we speculated on. And that because I was going to say that Winterbottom's reasonably well positioned, but he had the question mark of the penalty over his head. He now has to serve it.
Well, let me tell you, James Courtney, Fabian Coulthard, David Reynolds and Jonathan Webb, who are positions 1 to 4, all stopped on lap 21. Stephen Johnson stopped on lap 20. So you're right, Jason Bright last time in was lap 23.
88 should get a drive through because he turned the car around as well, so just nice and smooth.
Okay, so that's what they're banking on, Campbell Little.
Where you were before you crossed into that line, I wouldn't have called you otherwise.
Yeah, so see, he took the call from Campbell.
Just reacted to obviously the call that you said.
Showbiz.
So Courtney came in on lap 21. There's Tim Edwards. Bad stop cost them yesterday. A drama in pit lane has cost them today. So Courtney leading, but he come in on lap 21.
16 laps remaining, 16 remaining.
And the safety car ran until lap 25. So he's done 4 laps under the safety car. There's a bit of conservation there, but 21 and 18 gets you to 39. It doesn't get you to 43. We're right on the cusp of it going either 43 laps or to its time certain end. But I reckon it'll run its laps on the current numbers.
Well, you're spot on about Jason Bright. He's 2 laps better than those guys in front of him or
2
around
laps
him.
better.
2 laps better.
And the benefit of the safety car. So refueled at 23, safety car completed at 25.
Oh! There goes Will Davison. You're riding with him.
Seriously, they've all been on red cordial.
Absolutely gone mad. So that was Lee Holdsworth who gave Will Davison.
Yeah, I just saw that, mate. Yeah, get it back going again.
Bargwanna's done the fastest lap of the race and a new record, 57.74. Yeah.
Bright and Johnson have been coming together a lot.
That was a good bit of driving by Jason Bright because he almost got Jonathan Webb.
And Johnson, by comparison, stopped on lap 20. So he didn't even really have to have a dive bomb at Stephen because strategically Jason's in a much better position. That was messy, wasn't it?
That's why he got turned around.
But he was off the road. So Will Davison was off the road and he was rejoining. So that'll be a very interesting view of how the stewards determine that.
That briefing that Mark Larkham spoke about before,
Take a deep breath and just settle in, mate.
Thomas Mazira made it clear to everybody that when you're off the road, the obligation's on the driver for a safe rejoin. And he made a particular point about it. Because the nature of the track here means that you can straddle the lines in several places, he said, we'll tolerate it being off the road, but once you're off the road, you must exercise due caution coming back on.
It's just not playing out well for Ford Performance Racing at all.
So strategy-wise, this is an intriguing battle. James Courtney in on lap 21. We think he can't make it to the end. So this is Lee Holdsworth coming in. Richard Holway saying we're going to fix the car, but we're also going to fix the left-hand rear tyre they couldn't do in the pit stop. Fabian Coulthard, Dave Reynolds, Jonathan Webb, and Jason Bright. Now, Jason Bright is the last of the stoppers, as Neil said before, and he is in 5th spot.
Now, Rick Kelly and Greg Murphy are in this race too, for the same reason that Jason Bright is. Stephen Johnson, I reckon, struggling. He stopped on lap 20.
And that's the one. So he's come from off the circuit across the front of Lee.
So to reiterate the point, in 5th position on the road at the moment is Jason Bright, who's now gone to 4th. He's moved up on Jonathan Webb, so he's charging. And so he's not in conservation mode. When you're blazing past cars like that in Jason's car, the Team BOC Holden, you're pushing on. He's the best positioned car of those that last stopped on lap 23. Rick Kelly, who's 7th, and Greg Murphy, who's 8th in the Pepsi Max car there.
Yep.
They also stopped at that point. Here's Stephen on the inside of his former teammate, Jonathan Webb. Oh, Webby out very wide at turn 21.
So,
while you're sitting at home trying to follow this mad strategy game, because there's effectively 20, well, how many cars left on the road? 24? There's 24 different strategies being played out, folks, but put an asterisk next to Jason Bright's name. He's 4th on the road, but he's the best position in terms of trying to get to the end without having to stop again for fuel.
that was the replay of getting Jonathan Webb. That's put him into 4th spot. As I said before, Jason has got good car speed, and he was the last of those stoppers.
And he's only 4 seconds off the lead of the race, Jason Bright.
So he's got to use his head here now, got to not make a mistake.
And Davey Reynolds, who's in front of him, stopped on lap 21. Fabian Coulthard, who's in 2nd place at the moment, stopped on lap 21. And James Courtney, who leads the race, stopped on lap 21. So the 3 cars in front of Jason Bright have all burned up a couple more laps of fuel, but under the safety car. So the consumption isn't as high as the numbers that Mark Larkham has been touting. There's the Brains Trust Wally Story on the left, Andrew Edwards, Phil Keed, Team BOC. And they'll be looking at their fuel numbers carefully, because everybody will still have to make sure that they carefully manage their drivers and their lap speed.
But because they're not going as fast either, Neil, the pace of the race tonight is a lot slower than last night. So when you're doing late 58s and 59s, you haven't got the throttle open as long, you don't use as much fuel. And I would think that Jason Bright is genuinely the only guy who can use the car up properly.
All right, so as they come around this main straightaway here, let's take you through this positioning. So James Courtney leads the race. He will more than likely have to stop. Fabian Coulthard 2nd. He will more than likely have to stop for fuel. David Reynolds, situation exactly the same. Jason Bright could well and truly go the distance with the fuel that he's got left in the tank. So that's the scenario at the front. There's still some racing and fighting for positions to go on mid-pack and further back.
And there'll be some bluing in the garages about the Jamie Whincup, Jason Bargwanna issue.
I think there'll be a few things that are debated after this one. I still think it was unacceptably messy early on with the whole business of cars coming out of the pit lane and the blend line and who had right of way and who didn't.
So Bright up to 3rd. He just got Dave Reynolds under brakes.
He's got good pace.
Turn 8, he's got good pace.
This will be welcome relief for everybody at Team BOC at Brad Jones Racing. It's been tough for those guys in the recent past, and I know that Jason Richards will be at home watching the broadcast. It was great to see him out at the recent V8 Supercar launch and test day at Eastern Creek a couple of weeks back. And these guys need a win. They've worked hard. In fact, for a while there last year, Phil Keed wasn't going to shave until he started to see a result, and fortunately gave that plan away, cleaned himself up.
Like a caveman.
Actually, as soon as he shaved, he might be on for a win here. He was beginning to look like a caveman.
And these guys are also in good shape because Rick Kelly and Greg Murphy behind Steve Johnson there.
Car 6, Will Davison, black flag, pit lane drive-through penalty for shortcutting the circuit and then an unsafe re-entry onto the track, as predicted.
Relatively speaking, in this little group here, Stephen Johnson's the worst place for fuel. Rick Kelly can more than likely go to the end, and Stevie Johnson used a lot up. He put a lot of energy into having that battle with Jason Bright. Now, Stephen was last in on lap 20.
Yeah, so he's actually worse off the fuel than Courtney.
Yeah. Now, this is exciting stuff. It will be a nail-biting finish.
Greg Murphy's actually gaining some ground on Rick Kelly because Rick's being held up now behind Jonathan Webb and Steve Johnson. There's still a pretty lively battle going on with the teammates from last year. Oh, and Steve Johnson right out sideways, locked wheels, and just made turn 11. As Alex Davison and Michael Caruso make contact. And he just shortcutted the chicane, and they're blowing about that.
Look at the condition of the screen, Jamie's car.
Yeah, someone's got a lot of oil leak there somewhere, haven't they? We saw before one of the Kelly cars, wasn't it?
Yes.
In pit lane. And that's the windscreen.
Ooh, he's given Alex a touch-up. In fact, I just heard a radio message from Jack Daniels Racing that Rick's got an oil leak problem, so it relates to that somehow. Yeah, and Rick's in the lane now, in fact. He's had to come out of his battle. He's in 8th. Yeah, that's a shame, because he was in good shape.
He was going to be 3rd or 4th as this started to cleanse at the end of this race.
And Will Davison serving that penalty in the background too.
So something...
Well, that's 2 of their cars. Well, they're looking at the rear end for the oil, aren't they?
It's got a dip seal issue or something, but they were talking about what sort of oil it was. We saw them before doing a little oil analysis in pit lane, and you can see the amount of oil over everything under there.
Okay. Got that, Mickey. Campy. Once you get that wheel on,
look at them.
You'll be right. Probably, mate.
Look at
probably.
coming out.
Give me a hand.
Has that got a stubby under it? Because he can't go under it without
It has. It has. Yep.
Move him out of the way and get the door open.
There's a stubby under this side here where he's got his arm. Yep.
Well, James Courtney leads this race from Fabian Coulthard. But you'd have to say that the way this strategy game is panning out and the fuel situation is panning out, Jason Bright, who's in 3rd spot there with the lights on, is on target for his first race win in 5 years in the V8 Supercar Championship. I'll tell you another name who may well pop up and end up on the podium here is Greg Murphy.
Yep.
Because Courtney, Coulthard, Reynolds, Webb and Johnson, they're out of the top 7, will more than likely have to stop, leaving Jason Bright and then Greg Murphy on the road.
They've also just given Jason Bright an instruction on fuel conservation as well, so he's still got to manage it. They've gone to fuel position 3 on that car.
Yeah, he does, Neil. I've done a bit of a scan of the pit lane to see who's where. Now, these guys are all holding their cards very close to the chest, but I can tell you there ain't many fingernails left down here, including Brad Jones, and I reckon he's probably a lap better off than most. HRT, they reckon there'll be no burnouts if they win this race, so there's not much left there. Dick Johnson thinks maybe a little bit of fuel left there. They might be okay. Webby's guys are panicking, so, mate, the last couple of laps will be crackers.
So it's interesting then, what you're saying to me, Mark Larkham, as that's a positional move for now second in the race. Fabian Coulthard stepping aside for Jason Bright. That as the Holden Racing team, they think they can get to the end with Courtney. Is that the... But they're just not saying. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that.
No, not so much that. No, they're very marginal, Neil. They're very marginal at best. They won't tell you numbers, but they're very marginal. So I reckon they're in a bit of trouble.
I think so.
We can tell by the lap speed because they're almost a second a lap slower at this point of the race than Jason Bright anyway. So even if they do stay out and they're able to limp that car home, your lap speed will be so deficient against a Jason Bright.
And it's a great feeling when all of a sudden you can feel a race coming to you. When you're Jason Bright and you've got good car pace, you're in a slightly better position with your strategy, and you're in the rhythm with the car and the racetrack. It's just great to be the hunter. And that's what he's doing at the moment, and he'll be enjoying every second of it.
And there's the other one, because we think Greg Murphy in the Pepsi Max car is also well positioned.
The other one is Michael Caruso. Because Caruso is last in on lap 24, so he's better positioned than all of them, but he's a little bit further down the list.
Yeah, he got belted around pretty early in the race, and they've been conserving fuel for him, and they said they'll let him off the leash when we get a bit further down the road.
Just see there Fabian Coulthard pointing to say it was okay. He actually instructed him to go down the inside. So good, responsible stuff from Fabian. Doesn't want to get involved in the battle, and all the guys looking on. There's the team owner, Brad Jones, up in the top left of your screen.
And the gentleman at the back right-hand corner, who's obscured a little, is Dave Richards, and that's Jason's dad, who's a member of the crew. So the entire V8 supercar community wishing Jason and his family well in his recovery, and we want to get him back out on that racetrack again soon.
So Jason Bright, 2 seconds behind James Courtney. And this will be a pretty lively battle because these guys have got good speed. Whincup and Alex Davison. And this is Jamie. Have a look at this. He's been really good down into turn 11. I was critical of Alex being a bit too gentlemanly yesterday. Let's see what he does now. A little bit too gentlemanly.
Paul Dumbrell overshot down at turn 11 again. He's been having some troubles down there. He is currently 11th.
So Whincup presses up to 9th.
And Bright started this lap 2 seconds behind James Courtney. He's now 1.3 seconds behind Courtney. Those lights are coming at the race leader. Your series champion is being hunted down by Jason Bright in the BOC Commodore. And as he crosses the line, it's 1.3 seconds.
So regardless of the fuel situation, it's a good recovery for Courtney as well after a really tough day yesterday. And we had a bit of fun with it, but it certainly won't be funny when you're at the Toll Holden Racing team or in James's racing suit. But to start day 2 in a negative points position, it's quite bizarre. So even if they end up having to grab some fuel here, at least they're demonstrating that they've got some good balance and good car pace when it matters. So this is the onboard with Paul Dumbrell down at turn 11 from a lap back.
Yeah, so regardless of the fuel situation, like you're saying here for James Courtney, they've flexed a bit of muscle.
Think about your bars, mate. Think about your bars.
They've shown a bit of strength. With car number 1, they've dusted themselves off after the disaster of yesterday. Rapidly put it behind them. Larko, what do you got?
Oh, well, look, I'm going to grab Brad Jones here. Hey, Bradley, there's a lot of liars and thieves on this pit lane, although it's got a lot better since Crompton and Scaife retired. So I tried to find someone I could trust and not give us some crap. Mate, tell us, really, look down the barrel of that camera, where are you on fuel?
I wish I knew. No, I think we're going to be okay. It's pretty tight, and we've just got him to richen up a little bit to try and go with James. So we're pretty comfortable we can get there, and I think, you know, we just need to get by him.
I'm just getting the wallet out of your back pocket, mate.
There is nothing there. We'll see what happens.
I wish I knew. What a liar. He knows exactly. He's got the number in front of him on the laptop.
What a lightweight answer that was.
Used car dealer.
He's not alone.
You're right about that, Matt.
It'd be a remarkable job if Courtney and this Holden racing team could stay out there and hold on. We just don't know the numbers.
Yeah, we're still a little way from home, but if they've managed to do that, I don't know how they've done it, but at the moment they're still maintaining good pace.
Garth Tander's race came to an end on lap 1. He was involved in that massive shunt triggered off by Tony D'Alberto, and Garth and Tim Slade both had the long walk back, didn't even complete a lap.
That's good, just keep it up. Friday's had to work pretty hard to get to where he is, so his tyres might be starting to slow up.
So James in on lap 21 for fuel and tyres, but on the regular maths gets you to lap 39. We're on lap 37. Whoa, big slide. He's pushing hard. He might be using them a bit too hard.
Yeah.
And now we know that when James came in on 21, he's still got 4 more laps away under the safety car where the fuel consumption is reduced. Don't know, I can't give you a number on that, but let's even speculate that it's, you know, half or 2/3. I still can't see how you can get another 4 laps out of it. I just don't believe that's possible.
And James is trying pretty hard too, because he's sideways on the exits. We saw both of them coming out of turn 6 and 7. Sideways, we just saw them coming out of the left-hander in the infield at turn 14. And both of them had the rear tyres lit up. So just take real notice.
So I reckon that if you halve the fuel consumption and said under the safety car he was burning 2 litres a lap, you'd save 8 litres, which will get you another 2 laps to lap 41. It doesn't get you to lap 43.
Neil, might be worth keeping an eye on Michael Caruso too. His Gary Rogers motorsport team have confirmed that he's fine for fuel, so he's in the mix as well.
Yeah, he's no drama. Lap 24 was the last time he came in, so he'll get there.
Yeah, so we were talking...
Here's another element that we need to just contemplate here, that it's right on the cusp as to whether it genuinely goes for 43 laps all the time, certainly. Now, 1 lap could make a huge difference in this argument. There's 4 litres of fuel, and we're arguing over the last little bit here.
Well, at last check on the watch,
and there's a 20-second window on this.
And Neil, to add to what you were just saying, if you want to grab your calculator and get it out, I was looking over Mark Dutton's shoulder when Jamie Whincup was driving his safety car laps, and he was using, on my calcs, exactly 40% of his fuel he was doing on a fast lap on his safety car lap. So do a little rewind, couple of bits of maths, see what you come up with there.
Well, it's 4.1 litres a lap. So effectively 1.6 litres.
Yeah, so my 2 might be a little bit too hungry. So, I mean, if James was getting around 1.6 litres and doing what Jamie Whincup was doing, and this does run 1 lap shorter, then
he gets away with it.
He gets away with it, in which case, if you're Jason Bright, right now you hang everything out.
So it's all or nothing now, because they just don't know how close it's going to be. Jason Bright cannot sit there and wait for James Courtney to dive into pit lane to fill up on fuel. He's going, Jason Bright and James Courtney, for an historic win here. Brad Jones Racing never won a race. Courtney looking for his first race win at the Holden race team.
Jason's going to have to nurse this rear tyre, because fuel mightn't end up being his biggest problem if he tears the rears off it.
It was 2 sideways there out of 19, and you can't do that. We're saying there's only 5 laps to go.
Oh,
but 5 laps,
He's obviously very strong on the brakes at 8 and 11.
And he's sliding it wildly, even off the last corner then for Jason. It was a huge oversteer with his foot jammed in the throttle. Craig Wilson from Walkinshaw Racing. And there's the other bunker, Team BOC. And there's radios alive further down the queue saying, we can get podiums when these guys run out of fuel, is the phraseology. So, yeah, true to form, your competitors give you no credit at all. Now, let's have a look down here. bottom at turn 8. He's in the draft.
Don't do it so early. You've got to be very careful not to go too early with this.
And you've got to be careful not to kill the rear tyre under brake by hopping it in there and skating it on the rears, exciting the rear tyre, superheating it. Obviously, they're already fragile.
So he is strong. Scott Sinclair said to James Courtney before, he's strong at 8 and 11, meaning those 2 braking areas. But don't use it up yet. You've got to get there and then make a good professional pass. And he's got some speed on him. He's giving him a little love tap at turn 13. Down to 14. This is where they've been sliding the cars. He's got speed on him. You've got to use your brain now and make this pass stick. Don't rush it.
Oh, yeah, I reckon at the moment, just keep the rear tyre under it for another couple of laps.
Well, Jason just made sure that James knew exactly where he was.
The more Jason forces James to use lap speed, the more fuel you burn, the more it pushes James into a corner.
Absolutely, and he's 2 sideways again. He was sideways on the way out of turn 19, then he ran right out to the guardrail. And you've got to be so conservative with the way you use the throttle. So if the car's sideways, just got to stay off it. And that was Courtney then with a big slide. That's a good sign. When you're the hunter, it's a good sign when the guy in front leaves those big black trails of tyre debris, and the way that Courtney looks. Again, a big slide there at turn 2.
Remember, Courtney was the master last year on the soft tyre. Put together that brilliant mid-season run. Now he'll be vulnerable down at turn 8, given the proximity of Bright here coming down the hill.
And boys, just to add to the drama, I've just bumped into Damien White, the operations manager for V8 Supercars. He reckons this is highly likely this is going to go time certain. So that's a lap short. So that plays into the hands of James Courtney.
It certainly. Oh, he's down there. Oh, that was a late-minute pass, a last-minute dive, and this is where Jason Bright is strong. Courtney will have to cover him now. He'll have to cover him. If he doesn't cover him, Bright will dive.
Well, watch here. Bright.
Oh, he's locked.
He's got in, and can he hold on to it? This is the critical moment for Jason Bright, and he holds it.
Sensational
Brad
move.
Jones Racing have gone ballistic. They can now taste their first ever race victory.
That was a great bit of driving from Jason Bright. Great judgment. There wasn't another millimetre of performance left in that car under brakes, or mid-corner for that matter.
Fantastic pass.
There's only 4.5 minutes left on the clock. After that trigger point, there'll be 1 lap to go.
Now get your head down, Brighty. Don't make a mistake.
Either way, it's going to go right down to the wire. Against time, against fuel, Bright versus Courtney. What started out as a bizarre race is coming to a fascinating finale.
Your
These
series
two
champion,
warriors.
He will not give up.
Well, he's got a good run here onto the front straight. He's got a lot of pace. Down to turn 1. Bright's going to go deep, no question.
But Jason had to pinch his own race line and make his mid-corner speed slow. It encourages Courtney back up the inside, side by side, through 2 and 3 to the top of the hill. Where's this going to end? Jason back in control for now, but shallow again on the race line. Courtney's all over him.
Bright had to think twice before he took back aim over the hill.
What a battle.
Fantastic stuff. This is great motor racing.
This is a thrashing match. 2 guys going as hard as you want. James Courtney wants his first race win at the Toll Holden Racing Team. He wants to pick up after the disaster of yesterday. He'll be running on the smell of an oily rag. Jason Bright is looking for his first race win in 6 years and BJR's first ever. Everything's at stake.
He made a bad gear change on the way out of turn 10 as they go down to 11, and he's been very strong under brakes.
And it's interesting to note, young racers, you saw when Jason was down at turn 1, the minute you protect, you make yourself slower in the mid-corner, and he got attacked big time on the run up the hill to 2 and 3. He's managed to come out the other side alive, just, but that was an amazing exchange.
And it's not over.
There's a little bit of form on the side of Jason Bright, but you have to go back a fair way. The last time he won a race was in the Middle East, Bahrain 2006. He's going to have to do this the hard way.
And Stephen Johnson saying his fuel light is on and they're actually going to pin him this lap. He's in 13th in car 17. What a race.
Unbelievable. Oh, he's having a dive. He's having a dive at the last corner at turn 21. He's got up the inside of Bright. He takes the lead again. What a motor race.
Bright's going to go side by side with him here down to turn 1, though. And he'll hold on to it. How on earth did he get that position back?
Coulthard's out of fuel and in the pit lane. Game on up the hill again at 2 and 3. Bright on the outside at 2. He's actually off the racetrack there. Courtney's got control of the race for the moment. Where is he at with fuel? Can he make it? Plunging down the hill. Courtney by a car length at the moment from Bright. Can Bright respond under brakes at turn 8? He's actually lost some critical distance here.
Word from race control is that we'll more than likely get cut a lap short. We'll have to wait and see. Garth Tander just willing his new teammate on. They're doing this through gritted teeth and white knuckles.
Something weird just happened. Something weird just happened to Bright's car. He lost speed then.
He did, coming down the hill.
Down to 8.
Yeah, but he's regained some control again now. He's actually pulled a bit of that gap back, but I raised my eyebrows too. I thought it might have coughed, in fact. Something weird has happened as an understatement. It's been the last hour, something weird's been happening.
This is intriguing stuff to whether James Courtney, whether he can get home on this fuel.
Well, this is a remarkable performance.
The race will go the distance. It will go the distance. Now, Jamie Whincup, by the way, has climbed up into 3rd position. He's way back further down the track, but he's on the podium at the moment.
Other teams who also run calcs on key competitors are still suggesting that Courtney's going to run out of fuel. And I'm not talking about Team BOC, it's others in the queue.
Crosses the control line again. This is it. The final 4.73 kilometres. Has Courtney got enough gas in the tank to get there? Can Bright find that speed back and try and get that position? What an amazing finale. He's closing up the gap. So Bright's coming back through the corkscrew. That's where Courtney got the lead last time around.
So if he pulls this off, Courtney's got 22 laps out of this tank of fuel, which has been a remarkable performance in safety car fuel conservation, and then I imagine ongoing conservation through this stint. And that has defied me. That's a remarkable performance, and well done, James and the team.
Oh, it's going to be tight.
Yeah, there's no science left here, boys. I was just talking to Rob Crawford, team manager down at HRT. It's in the lap of the gods.
So just go for it.
And Scott Sinclair just said that they're in plenty of trouble. That's a little cough. That was a little cough.
But opportunities are running out here for Jason Bright. If Courtney can get to the end, he'll hold on here if he's got enough fuel.
They've never won a V8 supercar race at Brad Jones Racing. They are desperate to do it, and this is an opportunity. Jason Bright is right on the back of James Courtney. The reigning champion is pulling one out of the fire here.
3 more turns to go. Car number 1 still out there somehow. Fuel is a major issue. If he makes it to the finish line, he'll be hard-pressed to do a victory lap.
He's going to do it.
He is going to do it. What a fight back this has been. What a run to the finish. He's done it on the smell of an oily rag, and James Courtney gets his first victory for the Holden Racing team.
Well done, guys. Awesome effort all weekend. Awesome.
Jason Bright in 2nd and Jamie Whincup on the podium in 3rd.
Well, I did not think that was possible, and they've managed to do it. I would love to know what was left in the bottom of that tank. James Courtney, Neil Crompton, congratulations. Your first win for the Toll Holden Racing Team. Unbelievable.
Yeah, look, it's an awesome feeling to all the hype and everything going on in the off season. All I wanted to do was get in the car and drive. And then what happened yesterday, it was hell for me. It was good, great team. We stuck together and got on with it today. And good job. I can't thank my guys enough. Strutty, which is amazing for the Toll Holden Racing Team. So big tick, boys. Awesome effort.
I can't believe you managed to get the thing home on fuel. We didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little surprised myself. I was saving so much, which allowed Bridie to get me, but and the boys let me know I had a little bit to play with, so I hustled it back past him and then decided to conserve again. But yeah, amazing race. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for everyone in Australia who stayed up and watched it. But yeah, stoked, boys. I'm stoked.
Well done, mate.